Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony Third Fleet gazed through the crystalline viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and allowed himself a rare moment of amusement. The human fleet before him was quaint. 12 vessels, none larger than a frigate by hegemony standards, hung in the void like scattered pebbles before a mountain range. "Analysis complete, Commander," reported his tactical officer, mandibles clicking with barely suppressed mirth. The human fleet consists of outdated fusion drives, primitive kinetic weapons, and what appears to be... The officer paused, consulting his readings again. Improvised armor plating. Zethkar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of profound disbelief among his species. The humans had been contacted merely 50 cycles ago, barely enough time to develop rudimentary space travel, yet here they were, attempting to block the hegemony's advance toward their homeworld with this pitiful showing. "Open a channel," Zethkar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of 300 conquered worlds. "Let me speak to whoever leads this collection of scrap metal." The main screen flickered, revealing a human female with graying hair and steady brown eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform adorned with symbols Zethkar didn't recognize. When she spoke, her voice carried an odd quality. Not fear, as he expected, but something else entirely. "I'm Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. You're trespassing in human space." Zethkar's throat sac inflated with laughter. "Human space? Child species. You have been starfaring for less than a century. Your space extends barely beyond your moon. I am Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony, conqueror of the Altarian Empire, subjugator of the crystal cities of Nexus Prime. Your world will submit, or it will burn." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "That's unfortunate. We were hoping for a peaceful resolution." "Peaceful?" Zethkar gestured to his tactical display, where his 300 warships formed an overwhelming crescent. "You bring 12 antiques against the might of the hegemony and speak of peace? Surrender now, and your species will be granted the honor of serving as laborers. Resist and face extinction." "I see." Chen nodded slowly. "In that case, Commander, I have something to show you. Helm, execute Protocol Starright." Zethkar was about to mock the pompous name when his sensor officer's voice cut through the bridge like a plasma blade. "Commander, energy readings from the human vessels are impossible. They're registering power outputs beyond our maximum theoretical calculations." The human ships began to move, but not in any pattern Zethkar recognized from 3 centuries of warfare. Instead of forming battle lines or defensive formations, they spread out in a complex 3-dimensional matrix, each vessel taking position at carefully calculated coordinates. "What are they doing?" Zethkar demanded. His science officer, a brilliant tactician who had never failed to predict enemy movements, could only stare at his instruments. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to be creating some sort of geometric pattern in space." Admiral Chen's voice crackled through the comm. "Commander Zethkar, you asked about human space. Allow me to show you what that actually means." The human ships began to glow, not with weapon charging or shield activation, but with something else entirely. A soft blue-white radiance that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around each vessel. Zethkar's instruments screamed warnings as gravitational anomalies appeared throughout the battle zone. "Commander," his tactical officer shouted. "Space-time distortions detected. The humans are somehow manipulating the local stellar cartography." As Zethkar watched in growing horror, the stars began to move. Not the ships, the stars themselves. Ancient points of light that had remained fixed since the dawn of civilization started to shift, sliding across the cosmic canvas like paint on a wet canvas. The humans weren't just moving through space. They were rewriting it, editing the fundamental structure of reality itself. The 12 human vessels, acting in perfect coordination, began to weave new constellations. Where once the star pattern had shown the approach to Sol system, now it displayed something entirely different. Zethkar realized with mounting dread that the humans weren't just defending their territory. They were changing the very definition of where that territory existed. "Helm, evasive maneuvers," Zethkar commanded, but his pilot could only shake his head in confusion. "Sir, navigation is impossible. The stellar cartography no longer matches any known star charts. We don't know where we are anymore." Admiral Chen's image remained steady on the screen as reality shifted around both fleets. You see, Commander, humanity has always had a unique relationship with the impossible. When the galaxy told us we were too young, too weak, too primitive to matter, we decided to prove it wrong. We didn't build bigger guns or stronger shields. We built something else entirely. What have you done? Zethkar whispered, watching as his mighty fleet found itself scattered across completely altered space, each ship isolated in a pocket of rewritten reality. We learned to think differently, Chen replied. Every other species accepts the universe as it is, humans. We've always preferred to change it to what it should be. Your 300 ships are very impressive, Commander. Unfortunately, they're now distributed across 300 different star systems, each one about 50 light-years from here. Zethkar's tactical display confirmed the impossible truth. His fleet, his unstoppable armada, had been scattered across the galaxy like leaves in a stellar wind. Each ship found itself alone, surrounded by unfamiliar constellations with no way to navigate back to the battle. This is impossible, he breathed. That's what they said about flight, space travel, and faster-than-light communication, Admiral Chen observed. Humanity has a long history of proving the impossible wrong. We may be young, Commander, but we've had practice changing the rules when we don't like them. The 12 human vessels began to fade, transitioning back to normal space as the stars settled into their new configurations. Where once the approach to Sol had been clear and open, now lay a labyrinth of spatial distortions that would take centuries to map. Your fleet will be returned to hegemony space in due time, Chen continued. Consider this a demonstration. Human space isn't defined by the distance our ships can travel. It's defined by our willingness to reshape reality itself to protect what we value. Next time you consider conquest, remember that humanity doesn't just fight in the universe. When necessary, we rewrite it. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkar alone on his bridge, staring at star charts that no longer made sense. In 3 centuries of conquest, he had never encountered a species that responded to overwhelming force by fundamentally altering the nature of existence itself. He looked out at the stars, newly arranged, unfamiliar, and somehow radiating a quiet warning that this small, blue world was under protection by forces that refused to accept the limitations others took for granted. For the first time in his military career, Commander Zethkar began to understand what it meant to encounter a species that considered the impossible merely an inconvenience to be corrected.